Greetings, denizens of the interwebs. This is Jacob K. Baker of Atomic Stick Figure Productions, and today I want to discuss the character of the Skullman, created by Shotaro Ishinomori in 1970. Now, the character's origins actually lie in 1968 with the series Cyborg 009, in which there was two characters, one called Skull and the other one called Skullmask. He was a lot cooler because he had a cigar. Now, these characters were one-off villains, and they only appeared in a single episode each. But the design for the characters were something that stuck with Shotaro Ishinomori. So whenever he did any other adaptations of the storyline, the character Skull became one of the primary antagonists, and perhaps the most prolific in the series. Now, because of the character, in 1970, he wanted to do a manga that was akin to one of the Tokusatsu series that he had done. But he wanted it to be horror themed, because even though Shotaro Ishinomori loved children, he loved to scare them equally. And so he set out to create this horror manga. Initially it started off as Crossfire, and the character's design really didn't have the right kind of oomph, because it was pretty basic and pretty much just looked like Shern. So he redesigned the character very akin to Tiger Mask, and he was a wrestler who had a tiger theme, like Tiger Mask, but he would fight the forces of darkness. Again, the design really didn't strike a chord with it, so drawing influence from the character Skull, he designed the Skullman. And the Skullman appeared in a one-off 100-page manga simply titled The Skullman, Volume 0. In 1971, Toei approached Ishinomori with wanting to do another series, because everything Ishinomori did was kind of gangbusters. So his initial idea was to do a live-action adaptation of The Skullman. He refined it for, television's tastes, and even redesigned the character to look more like a traditional Tokusatsu hero. But even at that, it was still something that Toei was not exactly comfortable with doing. So he went back to the drawing board and asked his son what kind of a superhero he wanted to see. And at the time, and probably still to this day, his son was obsessed with grasshoppers. And he suggested the creation of a grasshopper-themed superhero. Now, he still wanted to keep the Skullman motif with the character design, so he essentially just took Skullman and added elements of grasshoppers into the Skullman to create the original Kamen Rider. And if you actually look at the design side by side, you can definitely tell that Kamen Rider was influenced by the Skullman. In 1998, another manga artist, I believe this was after Ishinomori's passing, because I believe he passed away in the early 90s. Another manga artist, I cannot remember his name, he did a kind of a soft reboot, continuation / expansion on the character in I believe it was an 8-volume manga. I am probably really wrong on that. But the series is notable for not only expanding the Skullman universe, but also drawing inspiration from Kamen Rider. There's various homages to the Kamen Rider franchise in it, and even the enemies he faces, there's a Spider Kaijin, a Bat Kaijin, Scorpion Kaijin, the Bee Woman, various other characters that were known for Kamen Rider that appeared in this. In 2007, there was an anime adaptation that actually had a live-action prequel episode, episode 0. And the anime, spoiler warning, because I'm going to give away the ending of it, the post-credits sequence of this anime actually ends with the Skullman becoming Skull. And there's a sequence where he walks through a crowd of characters from Cyborg 009, and he ends up in this chamber pledging his allegiance to the Black Shadow. So it's really cool how that worked out. Because Cyborg 009 inspired the Skullman, which inspired elements of Kamen Rider. And then Kamen Rider influenced elements of the Skullman manga. And then the anime from 2007 tied directly into Cyborg 009. So it's this very cool, you know, weird history of the character. And, I mean, granted, the character of Skull appeared in the various iterations of Cyborg 009. There's not really a lot that's been done with the character outside of the franchise, other than the Cyborg 009 Devilman crossover that happened last year, a couple years ago. So the character still resurfaces from time to time, but nothing on the horizon that I've read. But the character also influenced various other Tokusatsu characters. Kamen Rider Skull is a perfect example. There's various others, not only in Kamen Rider, but in like the Sentai series. There's characters patterned after the Skullman that will pop up from time to time. So this character that's relatively unknown, unless you're just big into Ishinomori's works, has like had a major handle on the production of Toei's, well, productions. And that's kind of all that I know to talk about right now on the subject. There's more that I want to discuss later, but my time limit for this video is coming up fast. So I will revisit this character in at least one more episode in the future. I'm going to try and do 2 more episodes because there's elements that I want to discuss from Cyborg 009 specifically. So until the next video, and I hope that this video was not too shaky since I'm driving down the road on a very bumpy road. But until the next time, I bid you guys adieu, and I hope you guys have a blessed evening.